Story 1. Gifting a pet is a significant responsibility to place on someone. Even if they want a pet, they miss the special moment of choosing it for themselves. Story 2. Meeting and getting married shortly after can be challenging. Even if you believe they are the one, it is important to get to know them during the dating phase. Story 3. The song Every Breath You Take gets played at weddings all the time. Even Sting commented on it, expressing his surprise at its popularity. Story 4. Pursuing someone after they say no or are already with someone else is inappropriate and unacceptable in real life. Story 5. Continuing to pursue someone after they have rejected you is not appropriate. If I do not want to date you and say no to a date, that is not an invitation to keep flirting or pushing the issue. Story 6. Public proposals can sometimes make it obvious that the person being proposed to feels uncomfortable, especially if they do not accept the proposal. It is important to be attentive to the situation. Story 7. Standing in the rain arguing, like, "Babe, I'm cold, wet, and emotionally unstable." This isn't a romantic movie. It's a breakdown. Story 8. I believe in grand gestures. People often think that big surprises are always romantic, but sometimes a quiet, simple moment together speaks louder than anything flashy. It is the little things that make it real. Story 9. Any romantic gesture towards a person who has ended the relationship is unnecessary. If you have been rejected, it is best to leave them alone. Do not serenade them through their bedroom window or chase them down at the airport. Story 10. I had a first date who serenaded me once. I left the date feeling as though he wanted to wear my skin. Story 11. I have had multiple romantic partners serenade me as a surprise, as I used to work in music and dated many musicians. Every time it happened, I wanted to jump off a cliff. It's similar to when someone sings "Happy Birthday" alone, but it's a love song, and if others are present, they are watching for your reaction. I would feel grateful and touched in public, but I made it clear in private to never, under any circumstances, do it again. Story 12. Everyone says women like surprises, but every time I try, it's always "Who the hell are you?" and "How did you get in here?" 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Story 13. Showing up at the airport and telling someone, "Don't go. I changed my mind. Let's be together," when everything was already arranged and agreed upon, and the other person had accepted a new job offer, signed a contract for accommodation, and lined up everything for a new chapter was a surreal experience. Yes, it happened to me. He was a narcissist. We agreed I would go for a year and then come back. I had already canceled my lease, accepted and signed a work contract, sent my belongings to the new place, and found accommodation there. No, I didn't stay. Yes, we broke up shortly after. He didn't want to let me go because he knew he would no longer have that level of control over me. I am fine now, but it took years of therapy to realize what he had done to me. Story 14. Continuously pursuing a friend who has expressed disinterest is not advisable. If I like someone and sense potential chemistry, I might make a move. If the feelings are not reciprocated, I will accept it gracefully and strive to keep the friendship intact. Many instances arise where one person repeatedly brings up their feelings, attempting to escalate the situation. This behavior can be uncomfortable and may jeopardize the friendship. Story 15. Proposing on any holiday. "Hey babe, here's your Christmas gift. It's a ring I could have given you next week, but then I would have had to buy you another gift." Story 16. Sharing earbuds can seem cute in movies, but in reality, it's uncomfortable and awkward, and someone always gets pulled when they move. Story 17. Involving food with intimacy can lead to unexpected experiences. Chocolate sauce and whipped cream in places you never knew existed may not be enjoyable. Story 18. Stealing food from my plate and calling it sharing is not acceptable. Please get your own food. I asked if you wanted anything, including your own fries, but you said no. Keep your hand away before I use a fork. Story 19. Those exhausting on and off relationships that are complicated or require constant effort are just toxic. Story 20. This is unusual, but several partners in my past have licked my face to be cute. It leaves me feeling disgusted and causes breakouts. I had to explain to my current partner that while it may look cute, it feels terrible. Story 21. The bad boy persona in movies and books is very toxic and sends the wrong message about how one should be treated in a relationship. Story 22. Surprise car gifts. The commercials are misleading. Who wants to be surprised with a car that comes with a huge monthly payment? Story 23. In films, one character being the only person who can comfort and care for another is seen as romantic. In reality, it is challenging. You become responsible for another person's well-being, and if you cannot meet their needs while remaining calm and emotionally responsive, they may perceive it as betrayal and feel that you are not fulfilling your role. It is also rarely reciprocal. It is much more meaningful to communicate your feelings and take ownership of what you need to feel better. Story 24. The 4 most overrated things in life are champagne, lobster, anal intimacy, and outdoor meals. Story 25. Going to sleep in each other's arms can be hot and uncomfortable. You may feel like you cannot move without waking them up. The list goes on. It is really the thought of it that people find romantic. The reality, however, is different. Story 26. Big romantic meals before planned intimacy can make the experience difficult. Being overly full from rich pasta or other foods can hinder enjoyment. It is better to connect first, then go out for dinner. Story 27. Receiving flowers at work for a birthday or anniversary can feel like a show-off move and may come across as unnecessary. It often seems like a way to say, "Look, my partner loves me." It's not appropriate to seek validation in the workplace. Story 28. Late Beethoven. I can recognize the proto-romantic elements, but to me it is still firmly rooted in classical languages and forms. Story 29. Surprise parties can seem thrilling in movies, but in real life, nobody wants to be caught off guard. It can be awkward and uncomfortable, regardless of how well you know the guests. It's best to avoid them. Story 30. Breakfast in bed is not for me. I do not want to eat in my bed, nor do I want a tray with a hot beverage balanced above me on a soft mattress. The crumbs and awkwardness are not enjoyable. No, thank you. Story 31. Moonlight walk along a deserted beach. Sand crabs were everywhere. We walked along and then turned on a flashlight to see those little crabs running all over the place. They were running toward the light. It was a hysterical yet horrendous experience all at once. Story 32. Cooking together. I dislike having anyone in the kitchen with me while I cook, especially my partner. I just want to manage my dinner on my own. Story 33. Where I live, going down to the docks to watch the sunset is a favorite pastime. It's warm for only a few months each year. Water sprays up at you, and there's too much activity around. Houses on the beach host loud parties. People stumble out of pubs and bars, and chaos ensues. Meanwhile, other couples with the same idea seem miserable nearby. It's just not enjoyable. Story 34. Anything done conspicuously in public to appear romantic, such as public proposals and surprise flash mobs. Story 35. Sleeping in the same bed has become a challenge for me. I cannot sleep with anyone else, not even my daughter, let alone my partner. We have separate bedrooms, and it has saved our relationship. Story 36. Insisting on having sex while your parents are in the next room and then shouting my name loudly when I have clearly told you multiple times that it makes me uncomfortable. I don't find it kinky or exciting, and it makes me feel weird and anxious just thinking about it. Story 37. Overpriced wedding. I had a coworker who wanted her dream wedding, and now the married couple is in significant debt. Story 38. Buying your wife a vacuum cleaner for her birthday because you use it all the time will make your life easier. Story 39. When your partner consistently praises your beauty instead of feeling good, it makes me panic, wondering if he will still love me when I do not look like I do now. I know he means well, but my mind wanders and the romance is lost. Story 40. Falling in love with an adult that you knew as a child. I assure you, there are still people who justify this. They grew up. So what? If you can't see the problem, I don't see the point in explaining. Story 41. Hot air balloons produce a loud flame that is hotter than expected. There is an additional person in the balloon who operates it. Landing can be quite awkward, as it rarely touches down gently. Story 42. I was on a first date once. We went to a barcade and had a nice time. We took a taxi to the subway. He was taking the train east and I was going west. I tried to kiss him but missed as he turned his head to check the train arrival screen. His train arrived, and I ran away, embarrassed about accidentally kissing him on the ear. I got on my train, and at the next stop, my date hopped on, sat down next to me and said, "I didn't want the date to end that way," and gave me a big kiss. It turns out he was an improvisational comedy performer, and our next 2 dates were filled with improv setups, which was very annoying. Story 43. Sharing a bubble bath sounds romantic until you're elbowing each other for space and soaking in a mix of people. Story 44. Having a sexual encounter at your workplace may sound appealing, but it can be uncomfortable if you are not an employee there and do not trust the surveillance system. My ex was in the Coast Guard, and my previous partner worked for a senator. I have had intimate experiences on several Coast Guard boats and in the senator's office. While these situations may seem exciting, I was incredibly anxious and could not relax, constantly worrying about the consequences of being caught. The things we do for love, right? Story 45. Pet names include Honey, Sugar, and Bear. The relationship did not last long because she cheated on me twice. Story 46. Makeup intimacy. I am not upset one moment and feel desire immediately after. I need some time in between. Story 47. Hot air balloon rides. You might think they will be romantic. Soaring above breathtaking scenery with your loved one, arms wrapped around each other. However, the reality is different. You arrive early and wait for what feels like forever as the balloon is inflated, making awkward small talk with the operator. As you ascend, the noise from the flames is overwhelming. You may appreciate the scenery for a few minutes, but you have an hour of this experience ahead of you. Now, you're confined to a small basket with your partner and a stranger who operates the hot air balloon. Hopefully, you aren't afraid of heights, and the wind takes the balloon wherever it pleases. You brace for the descent, hoping to avoid power lines or major populated areas. Once you land, you wait for the operator to call a driver to take you back. Then, you're packed into a truck with another stranger for an unknown duration. Hot air balloons may not be as enchanting as they seem. Story 48. I don't know if this even counts, but in movies, when people are attracted to each other, they start at the front door and leave a trail of clothes as they kiss their way to the bedroom. Every time I've had sex, it has always begun in a much calmer way. Story 49. Jealousy and possessiveness are often romanticized in media, specifically depicting men being jealous and possessive of women, and portrayed as, "Look how much he cares." In reality, this behavior is extremely toxic. Story 50. Dairy Queen was described as a comfortable, quiet place with clean bathrooms where one can focus and be productive. It was not romantic at all, as employees kept glancing at us while coming in. Next time, we will try a Wendy's. Story 51. Kissing in the rain. My husband wants to do it. I love the rain, but I dislike being wet in my clothes. Story 52. Being touched involves holding hands in public, touching hair and faces, and having arms around each other. Please do not breathe on me either. Story 53. Brushing the hair away from or caressing the face of your partner is often portrayed in television and movies as a tender gesture of affection. However, in reality, it may not be received the same way. If my hand comes within 5 inches of my wife's face, she definitely flinches, smacks my hand away, and asks what I was doing. Story 54. What is not as romantic as people think? Someone singing under your window at night. In movies, it is cute. In real life, it means angry neighbors in robes, a flying slipper from the 5th floor, and a call to the police. Story 55. Your parents' or grandparents' relationship can be quite sad to reflect on, especially when considering that their commitment often stemmed from limited options. Additionally, the uncomfortable age gaps in some of these relationships are concerning. For example, my dad was 24 and my mom was 16 when they started dating. Story 56. The story of Romeo and Juliet. Romeo was so enamored with another woman at the beginning of the play, only to completely forget about her the second he met Juliet. He was more of a player, not a romantic. Story 57. Rushing in to interrupt the vows at a wedding. Movies make it seem like a whimsical, cathartic moment where the bride tearfully leaves with her true love, while family and friends applaud as the groom quietly accepts and lets her go. In reality, there is often more fistfights, screaming, and police involvement. Story 58. I hate to say it, but I have to go with flowers, especially when sent to work. I appreciate the thought, but now I have to buckle up a whole vase in the car to make sure it doesn't spill everywhere. Sure, they are pretty, but they're inconvenient, and that plant is guaranteed to die within a week. I totally understood Angela in that dinner party episode of The Office when Andy just gave her a whole rose to carry around. What am I supposed to do with this? Same. Story 59. Sex on the beach can have its challenges. The sand can be bothersome, and the breeze is often not as pleasant as you might expect in more secluded areas. Additionally, people's dogs may run through the dunes right where you are, leading to a potentially awkward situation. You might find yourself scrambling to wrap up in a blanket to avoid an uncomfortable encounter. Of course, that's purely hypothetical. Story 60. Lingerie can be a thoughtful gift, but purchasing it for someone else to wear may come across as inappropriate. In contrast, buying lingerie to wear for someone else can be sexy and romantic. Story 61. Long walks on the beach. The heat, the sun, the glare off the water, and the coarse sand that gets everywhere. Story 62. Serenading someone feels superficial. I would rather be slapped in the face because, at least, that would give me something genuine to respond to instead of feigning interest for 5 minutes and complimenting you while trying to ensure that you never do it again. Story 63. Love is not supposed to be romantic. Most of the time, it consists of mundane things, small decisions, compromises, and sacrifices. These elements separate love from lust. Story 64. Harassment, especially if it involves underage autistic girls, is a serious issue. I have a lot of experience with this because I am a woman who is open about my autism. I cannot even count how many inappropriate individuals I have encountered simply due to my openness. I have only interacted with 3 decent people online. Story 65. Honestly, the whole planned proposal process puzzles me. A friend of mine recently organized a proposal, planning the location and inviting the entire family. I don't understand this. You're just asking someone to marry you. It feels strange to do that in front of a crowd. I also wonder why you would invite family. It's not the wedding. Additionally, hiding the ring in food or drinks as depicted in movies has always seemed odd to me. Story 66. Sharing a blanket and mattress. He has his twin-long squishy mattress and wool blankets, while I have my light blanket and firm twin-long mattress. They fit perfectly on the king-size frame under the king-size duvet, and we do a version of your place or mine for together time. Story 67. Almost everything that is supposed to be romantic feels forced to me. I enjoy coincidental romance, but if it is planned in any way, I feel pressured and inauthentic. Oh yes, that's very nice. Thank you. I love you too. Story 68. A one-horse open sleigh. It's cold and uncomfortable. There are no shocks on the sleigh. You feel every rock and bump while sitting on wooden planks. Additionally, the horse smells unpleasant. I don't know what ours ate, but he farted and defecated the entire time. It was reminiscent of a Seinfeld episode. 0 out of 10. I needed a shower afterward, not a romantic one, but a thorough cleaning after dealing with the horse's odors. Story 69. Sex in most places besides a bed is just uncomfortable. Shower? No thank you. It creates extra resistance. Beach? Sand? No thanks. What changed my life was an adjustable bed. That's a good time. Story 70. Cheating, the number of movies portraying this as a hyped romance is honestly baffling and blew my mind. It is never as it seems. Story 71. A proposal that is truly a surprise. An adult conversation about deciding to spend your lives together should precede any proposal. Story 72. Playing hard to get does not make you more interesting. It makes you appear uninterested. I will not chase someone who is not interested. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.